This is Mile High.
Do I want to tell the story or do I want to show the message?
You've got a lot of work to do between Mile High.
The time has come where we can know
we have a responsibility, an ethical and moral responsibility.
We have to do it better in order to move people along.
Up, down, inside out.
If you get your mind right,
it is not. It is a receiver of thought. Because love is my first technique.
It's now time for the show.
Welcome to the Mile High podcast. This is your host, Dr. Daniel Knowles. I am so enthusiastic today to be interviewing our special guest. Before I introduce her, I will also emphasize we're coming to you from an altitude of 5,280 feet, Mile High territory, which we encourage you to travel to in August 20th to 23rd, to join us at Mile High 2020 Vision. It's our 8th edition of Mile High, and we look forward to seeing you and your team there to help impact your community for the better and chiropractic for the better. Today's guest is one of my truly favorite people in chiropractic. I will say this, if in my world, if chiropractic were to have a living saint today, it would be Dr. Bobby Doscher. She does so much for chiropractic and children. She's the president and CEO of the Children's Chiropractic Center, Oklahaven, which was founded in 1962. She was a graduate of Palmer College. She later moved on to be a Doctor of Naturopathy. And she's chosen as one of the 12 great women in the history of chiropractic at the Chiropractic Centennial. She's gone and received so many humanitarian awards, and she's speaking at Mile High this year. Please give a warm welcome to Dr. Bobby Doscher.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing great. Thank you for joining us.
You're welcome. It's my privilege.
And where I'd like to start, if it's okay with you, is for people to get to know you better, to get to know how do you found your way into this chiropractic world and what that means to you.
Well, when I was born, I wore braces on my legs the first few years. And then I was always kind of a little slow. And then I became a great athlete. I was a United States women's umpire in field hockey, lacrosse, and basketball. Umpired the first women's Big Ten and Big Five tournaments. But I needed knee surgery. And the knee surgery, then I needed an exploratory operation. And the surgeon told my father that the chemical drugs were all in my gut. And then I needed the second knee surgery. And I said, no, I can't do that. And someone mentioned chiropractic, a good grade school friend's mother, and I always loved her. And so I came home and I said, I need to try chiropractic. And my mother said, I can't even say that word. What is it? Philadelphia had 7 medical teaching hospitals at the time. And at the time, I was also an international flight attendant. So I found a chiropractor. It was Mace Thompson. He was for the Eagles. He was the chiropractor. He adjusted my neck and he adjusted my knee, and I'm healthier today than I was in my 20s. So I never looked back. And Oklahoma needed chiropractors. But that's another story. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a few minutes. And so I came on a busload with a bunch of guys, which there were only 10% women in chiropractic at that time. And I ran in an elevator. I ran into Dr. Wayne Clark and Dr. O.S. Witt, who was then in his 80s. And he was a young boy who fell off a wagon, he always said. And within the month, they said he'd be dead by sundown, if not dawn. So an old female chiropractor came in, adjusted him, he got well, became a chiropractor, and worked to his last week of life in his 90s.
Wow.
And so Dr. Witt was in the elevator with Dr. Clark, who was an upper cervical chiropractor, and that's where I knew him from. And they asked if I could run Oklahaven. And being a stewardess, not a business person, I said, sure. So that's why I came to run the Children's Chiropractic Center. I had seen the world, I have had a great life, but it's been a journey, and it's been an interesting journey. So the Children's Center was 12 years old at that point. And it was kind of run down at the time, but I learned that I needed to get a board of directors that had lawyers and some CPAs and things like that, not all chiropractors. We always keep 1/3 chiropractors so that it holds the vote. And that's how I ended up at Oklahaven. But it's been 40 years now.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
The center's going to be 60 years old in a year and a half. It's 58 and a half years old now.
Wow. Wow. That's amazing. So what are some highlights of that history?
I think probably we'll go back to the first one when the children were all laying on the floor in the old building, and what happened was a gentleman kept coming to visit me. He had a nephew who wasn't passing the board, and he wanted to know if I could help, and I said no, and he became fascinated with that. So the next thing I know, he was back inviting me to go to the Kingdom of Jordan to treat a cerebral palsy child. And that I did. I sat on the Royal Jordanian airline with the Bedouin behind me, and I was definitely an unusual person, just being the only female. And I had a wedding that week. And during the wedding, we would go every evening to the celebration. It's a week long. But the child kept getting better and better, and he began to dance with his hands, and then he began to stand. And then it was time for me to leave, and the father wasn't going to let me leave, but that was the agreement, and we went on from there. Then I've been invited to many different countries throughout the world. We've been invited lately, and I didn't realize it was quite this long. The last 10 years I spent in and out of Russia and the Eastern Bloc. And it was a gentleman by the name, oh my gosh, can't think of his name right now. It will come. He worked with the children in water, and he could get them well and moving and their hands and everything. But when they came out of the water, they were back in the wheelchair, all gnarled up again. So he wanted to know if we could help. And I said, sure, send me some pictures. And that's when I asked Dr. Zale from California if he would go with me, because I had run some clinics there. I like running clinics in the world. Say, like in California, we used to go to his office and help with the children. And then so I knew Dr. Zale, and I knew he could get the job done. So he went with me, and we had a wonderful time, and many of the children began to function. And from there, that's where we went. We went to Prague, we went to Moscow, St. Petersburg, Tallinn, Estonia, many places in the Eastern Bloc. But they have to heal the children. I feel right now in America, we won't have our time until aid to disabled. If you're a young mother with a hurt child, you get $500 or $1,000 a month. You get free drug care. You get the child picked up. You have all these things given to you. Where then when they're about 18 years old, the child's back in your world. So if they fix them, and I've never not seen a child become well. chiropractic's a way of life. It used to take me 3 visits, then it was 3 months, but now you're looking at about 3 years of intense chiropractic care, like 3 times a week, but you get better. And the other day, my goal this year is to find the great chiropractors who were sick as children and become well. And Pete Fernandez was one of them. And he has a great story of how he had polio, was in the iron lung. And he's sitting there as a senior chiropractor and telling his story. So I'd like to have about 5, 6, as many chiropractors right now that hear this message come and tell their story. Do you know any?
Me?
Yeah.
I know all kinds of stories. I've
That
seen
were hurt children?
all kinds of things.
Do you know any that had hurt children, that were hurt as children?
You mean, ask it differently.
The children, they were themselves. Like Dr. Witt fell off the wagon, would be dead by sundown. Dr. Fernandez had polio, was in the iron lung. But they went to the chiropractor, got well, and gave back.
Got it. I'm sure I do. I have no doubt I do. I have to bring them up in my brain, but
Okay,
I'm certain I do.
that's what we're looking for.
Yeah. Well, I will get them to you. Now, on that, you have something special coming up. So before we go in more depth, let's talk about that. We have the Have a Heart campaign that's starting. So let's mention that right now. Can you tell our audience about that?
Well, Have a Heart was started by a young chiropractor in New York. And his sister said, why don't you take one of Dr. Bobby's videos and play it in the mall and sell paper hearts? So he did. So the next year I was lecturing at the Chiropractic College, Cleveland, LA. And the students said, what can we do to help? And I said, find a chiropractor in New York, find out how he did it. And they did. It was Angie Wellicala helped. And it's been since, I think, 97, they've been doing Have a Heart. And what it is, we ask the chiropractic colleges and the offices if they will show our video the 1 week of Valentine's, so that it is everyone's consciousness is there and that they're helping the children. Or if anybody sees the video, they know that the children can get well through chiropractic. And we sell the paper hearts, and then the money comes back to Oklahaven.
And
fundraiser. Yeah.
And this, I want to emphasize to people, this is so vital. This is so vital that this is alive in chiropractic and has an impact on communities, not just local to Oklahaven, but around the world.
Yeah.
And it's vital to support, to be a force for good in chiropractic and the organizations that are a force for good. So for example, I often tell people to support Sherman College because it's a force for good in the profession. Oklahaven is such an organization, and the work they do is vital to so many. And so where do people go to participate, to be part of that?
Just go to our website at chiropractic4kids.com. Chiropractic, the number 4 kids.com, and just sign up, and we will send you a packet with a video, and you can keep the video. And I always say my father used to come to the center and help mail out things and different things. And he said, my gosh, Bob, I had no idea the children were this sick, and he was watching them. So the videos do tell the story. The last one is just the story. I wouldn't say it had the greatest quality, but it is a wonderful video. So if we show that to the public, I love it. And now I've asked them to take it even further, take it into your communities. And we got a letter from a young chiropractor in Iowa who said she had gone to all the Zippy Lube and all of those places and received coupons. And with the coupons, she raffled them off in her clinic. But she got to meet everyone in her community, and chiropractic, she was giving back to something bigger than herself. So it's a win-win.
Excellent, excellent. Now, with that, talk a little bit more. You said something quite interesting there, which was that it would be 3 days, and then it was 3 months, and now more years. Tell me about that. Is there what's changed?
Oh, our life is more stressful. The food's more toxic. And of course, the vaccinations. So it takes a much longer time. I think it always took 3 years to get the body back to function, but you didn't have to come as intensely. What I'd like to leave with the profession today is chiropractic's a way of life. If you don't feel right, you get adjusted. And that's why the world kind of looks at us funny, because we have all this energy and we're excited about life. And if you don't feel right, you get adjusted. And it keeps the life force flowing within the body. So nowadays, just to get the body moving, it takes a little bit of time to get rid of the toxins.
And I agree, and I've seen that myself in just the 20 years. I don't have as long a history, but I've seen in the 20 years that I've served people that change. And then I will add to that technology and information overload. And even just the position of people's bodies that they utilize technology through. What you do with their head, neck, and shoulders furthers that. So, and I've seen it firsthand over and over again. Now, with that, in taking care of children and taking care of people in Oklahaven, one of the things I'd like to ask is, what are some of the miracles that have inspired you?
Oh, everyone's a miracle. I mean, it's always fascinating. People will say, "Do you still do that weird stuff?" And I'll say, "Yeah." A child talked today. Somebody else walked. It's always. I'm still excited as I was the first day, I think. But some of my real favorite ones. We had Preemie last year. She was adorable, and she didn't have any teeth. She projectile vomited, and believe me, she did at the clinic. And so we changed her to raw milk, and she stopped the projectile vomiting. We got rid of all the chemical drugs she was on, and she began to flourish within the 3 months. It was amazing. She even got up and walked, and she was so tiny. She was 3 years old. And just watching that. Right now, I have a case that's kind of sad, but she's one of the first ones I would say I felt it was vaccine damage. Her sister was in a wheelchair, and the mother had twins. And she came in, and the children were fine. The next day, she came back, and the child was just paralyzed. So she didn't come. And now, years later, she's back with this child. She's had back surgery. She's fed with a tube. She's never really gotten out of the mother tells me that she went to school and for a while and everything. But she was so medicated, and it was fascinating. Now she can use her hands. She was just tight and fisted, but their hands are loose. She's beginning to start rolling over and doing things. That to me was amazing, how she became so, each surgery left her worse off. And then we have one of my favorites was the little girl from Honduras. that her feet were behind her when we stood her up. And she said, with you and God, I'm going to walk. And I thought, oh my. But she did get to walk. And it was only 3 weekends that we went to Honduras. So that was fun.
Well, you know, it's amazing. So often, I think in people's education today, that they don't necessarily learn the value of children getting chiropractic care, period, which is sad.
Yes.
What are some keys in a child's evaluation of their spine and nerve system if we just hit 2 or 3 of them?
I'm not clear.
What are some keys for a person doing an appropriate evaluation or evaluation for subluxation? Yeah,
I have a little book that we
I know
wrote.
you do. Right.
Yeah, the book, Functional Neurological. And this, you can evaluate the child, and we're not evaluators, we're chiropractors. I always kid. It takes too long, but it will give you the basis. And you can say to the mother, this child's really great. She can talk, but she's stuck at birth. She can't move. And then the mother thinks, oh, well, she's okay, the child or something. But the main thing is, if she keeps coming, then the child begins to catch up the neurological developmental sequence with her chronological, that's her age. So I like doing that. I find that fascinating to see how quickly they change. One of the first things you're going to notice is the eyes. The eyes will tell you everything. You'll take your finger to their nose and their eyes will just cross. They can't follow you in. That's one reason. You can also tell how much medication they have by the pupils. They will dilate or they won't dilate. So you can ask them to slowly give up the medication. But if they keep staying on it, say the next one, go on to the next. Because the premise of chiropractic is toxins within. And I have found you will never see the full miracle if they are still on medication. So it's your call. You can baby them along for maybe a few months, but then you need to get on with it. Also, I have found that if you bring them in, clear out the nervous system, then they take the medication, then they come back the next day and they're all subluxated, and you adjust them again and they clear out and they're fine. You can tell, the eyes will always tell you whether they're being medicated. And a grandmother brought me a child, and the mother kept insisting she needed to keep coming. So finally we just said, I can't do it anymore. The medication was too much. So we let them go, and the child was dead within a month. So it's okay to be stern, I feel, because I have found that if you increase and then you begin to let the child go home and they medicate him again, you're looking for a seizure. You clear out the nervous system, you drug it, clear it, drug. All of a sudden, the body will have a seizure to reset itself. And seizures we feel are good. It's the body resetting like a computer. But it needs to be with caution. You have to really stay with the child. I've had a child who spoke Russian and English, and he was smarter than I was. I didn't have any Russian. And then he had a seizure, and his vision and hearing came in, and he began to function. Many times, that's what you'll see will happen after the seizure, full function.
So amazing, so amazing. And I feel in the chiropractic world, in the past people expected miracles more.
Oh, yeah. But they had them more.
Yeah. And they had them more.
Yeah.
Yes.
But we have to be grateful for the little things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. And so that's so important, is to have the expectation of healing, and be expectant of that outcome. Your influence has been felt around the world and impacted around the world through chiropractic. Being involved with children with healing, what do you see for us to improve or ensure or lift up the future of chiropractic?
To stick to the true premise. The true premise is the innate intelligence and the stress, trauma, and toxins within cause the subluxation. I feel that the children need quietude. When someone brings us a child that's really hurt, it's fine that they don't go to school for a while. Bring them home, take care of them. Years ago, when you were sick, you just stayed at home. You got well, and then you go back, and if they're under chiropractic, we find they're way greater students. And they do fine. We just have to get them through the crisis. Agnes Palmer, on her deathbed, she was my mentor. And Agnes, I said, "What do you think, Agnes?" And she said, "They don't get it." And I said, "They don't get what?" She said, "Specific thought, specific adjustment, expecting specific results. Begin to see the small signs. Begin to see the eyes will come first. Then maybe a little language, the hands begin to move. All the small things. And every time a mother leaves with a child, she has a new child. They're more curious, they're more awake. And it's cute to watch it because she's used to carrying the child. That's one of the hard things. You have to kind of say, now she can use her hand, she can dress herself. And they will dress themselves. It might take an hour to put their coat on or their, but with time, then it gets faster. But if you keep doing it for them, it doesn't work.
So amazing, and such an amazing history. And your quote, this happens to be one of my favorite quotes too. You sent this in. When health is absent, wisdom cannot reveal itself, art cannot manifest, strength cannot fight, wealth becomes useless, and intelligence cannot be applied. How do you see that connect to chiropractic?
Well, it's from one of the great Greeks.
Right.
Number one. I think Pythagoras understood how the human body worked and the vibrations. And in the vibrations, he invented the instruments, the string instruments. And the thing is, you slowly lose the function. And then when you don't have function, what's good money? What is life if you don't have function? So that's why I always love that one. Art cannot reveal itself. When we ask for money in the community, they're always given to the art. And I had to laugh. In the very beginning, I had a small practice and different people. We went to an art festival and from the children, and there were 3 children from Oklahaven had won in the art contest for the state. It was cute to see that how the intelligence is much brighter if they're adjusted.
Absolutely. Well, I want to thank you again for all you give. give to chiropractic, give to the community that you're in, give to the children. And I really want to encourage people that are watching this or listen to this to give to Oklahaven and help support them in their mission. Nearly 60 years, founded in 1962. It's one of the great institutions of our profession. And thank you so much, Dr. Bobby. And again, we look forward to seeing you in August out in Colorado on higher ground.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I like to come to you at this point because it impacts your community.
Mm-hmm.
And we just need to come maybe for a weekend, maybe 6 children, most, because it was like years ago when we'd speak out on vaccines, maybe 1 or 2 people would show up. Now thousands show up. I think it's time that we really do tell the story.
Yes, I agree. And again, if you're watching or listening to this, whether it be on iTunes or Stitcher or YouTube or one of the other channels, hit subscribe. Never miss any Mile High Tick so we can all change spines, lives, and minds together. Thank you so much, Dr. Bobby. And we look forward to seeing all of you in August at Mile High, August 20th to 23rd, 2020. The Year of Vision. Grab your seats at milehighchiroregistration.com.